Hi there, welcome back to Northlight Photographic Workshops. And welcome to what is kind of unexpectedly part 2 of the salt printing process video that I did a couple of years ago now. If you haven't seen that one, it's linked up here right now. Now, what's happened is that one's become quite popular lately. It's probably my #1 viewed video, which has overtaken the platinum printing process. And I think that that might be because of the cost involved in palladium right now, and people are discovering salt printing process and that it's less expensive. In fact, it's kind of almost dirt cheap using silver nitrate rather than any palladiums or platinums. Now, one of the things that happens with the process that I didn't mention in the first video was the fact of toning them. What happens with salted paper prints is they're made with silver nitrate. And the silver nitrate particles, the grain, if you will, is so fine that it's easily faded by UV light from the sun or even just ambient UV light. And very often over time they will fade. And so they need to be toned in some way. Now, you can tone them with a variety of different things. There's gold toners, which we're going to use today. There's palladium. There's copper toning. You can do selenium and other things like that. But for today's purposes, we're going to use gold toning, and that's kind of one of the more common toning processes in this salted paper printing process. Now, to learn a little bit more about this, even the more that I'm going to show you today, I mean, I'm just going to kind of give you a cursory introduction to toning your silver prints. I highly advise Christina Z. Anderson's book on salted paper printing, salted printing process. It's a great book, and it's quite the Bible on this stuff. And it's not only does it give you a lot of different formulas for toners and sensitizers and things like that, it also highlights several different artists' work in here. Some people that I know, and it's very, very beautiful work, and it's a real beautiful process to work with. And again, if you didn't see my first video on it, check it up here. But anyway, look for this online, salted paper printing process, Christina Z. Anderson. Now, in the toning process, you've got to basically, well, with gold toner especially, it's kind of an alkaline process. So what I do normally is I'll have a 2% gold chloride solution that I'll buy from Bostick and Sullivan, and I'll mix up my own from scratch. But I just recently did a workshop on this, and I bought one of Bostick and Sullivan's gold toning kits, and I have that right here. Now, their kit, they use gold chloride, a 0.2% solution, and then they use ammonium thiocyanate as a 2% solution. Now, the thiocyanate is used as an alkaline. Unlike in the platinum and palladium process, which likes to be acidic, this process, especially the toning part of it, likes to be more alkaline. So you want your toner to be a little bit more on that alkaline side. Now, their pH, you would want your pH in that to be around 7, ideally 7 to 9 would be the ideal pH for this process. Now, what I'm going to do first is mix up this toner. Now, in Bostick's solution, they ask you to mix up 1 liter, 1,000 milliliters, and use a 1-to-1 solution of the gold chloride to the ammonium thiocyanate. Excuse me, my verbalization here. But what I'm going to do is I'm cutting this back. I've made out 500 milliliters of water here, and I'm going to mix out 25 milliliters of each of these. They ask you to do 50 milliliters of each to 1 liter, so or to 900 milliliters to make a complete solution of 1 liter. We're just going to do 500 milliliters for our purpose. Now, the other reason I'm just doing this now is because we're only going to be working on one print, and I've got this print right here that I'm going to be working on. It's a beautiful little print by the legendary photographer David Burnett. I hope he doesn't mind me doing it again, but the reason I wanted to do it again is because I hadn't toned it the first time. I hadn't toned it that day. During the demonstration, I didn't show people how to tone prints because it would have taken a little bit extra time and that kind of thing. So anyway, I've gone ahead and I've made another copy of this print. It's a beautiful little print, and it's all ready to go here. It's been washed in salt water, as I explained in the other video, and it has been ready to be toned. Now, I haven't fixed it yet. You want to tone it prior to fixing it. Now, you don't necessarily have to do that with other types of toners, like selenium toners, and there's other things that you can use to tone in this process that you would fix the print first. But in this case, we're not. So this little print that I've made has not yet been fixed. It's been washed thoroughly and it's ready to go. So we first have to mix up the toner. Now, what I'm using is Bostick and Sullivan toner. Now this, I would normally mix up my own, but I just had a workshop recently and we purchased some of this to use in the workshop. It's much easier to do it this way. I would highly suggest going through Bostick and Sullivan to buy this gold toning kit. It's gold chloride 0.2% and also ammonium thiocyanate 2%. Now the ammonium thiocyanate is used as an alkaline agent. Unlike the process of, say, palladium, where it likes to be more acidic, the toning process in this case likes to be more alkaline. So that's the reason that the thiocyanate is in there. You can use some other things if you want. You can use borax, you can use baking soda, anything that will bring the pH up. Now, the ideal pH here would be around 7 to 9, I would say, and we're going to naturally get that once we mix these two together. But if you want in your own darkroom, have some pH test strips and you can make sure that your pH stays quite a bit higher. Now, we've already got the fix mixed up here in the tray. What we're going to do first is Bostick and Sullivan advises mixing 50 milligrams of each of these together as a 1-to-1 into 900 milliliters. Now, I don't want to make that much toner this time. I'm just going to make 500 milliliters at this point. So we're going to use 25 milliliters of each of these. I am going to first use the gold chloride, and just so I can kind of show you a neat little trick here. So I'm going to pour out 25 milliliters of this. There we go, and you can see it's quite yellow. We'll drop that into here, and that's going to kind of make our solution here a little bit more yellowish. I'm going to take the gold chloride and put it aside now, and then I'm going to take my thiocyanate and I'm going to mix it in, and another 25 milliliters. You can see that this is clear. Now, when I drop it in here, watch what happens. Everything clears up and goes back into a clear solution. It takes a little bit of time, but it goes back into a clear solution. So now we're all ready to go. We're going to put that into our tray. I have my favorite toning tray is a porcelain tray. I like to use porcelain or glass when I'm doing gold or palladium toning, just because plastic trays like this tend to stain and you can clean the porcelain trays a lot easier. So now we've got that set up there. And we have our image in our wash here. That's a clear bath right now. And now we're going to take that and put it into the toner. Now, you might be able to see on the camera that this is a little bit of a more rose colored right now. As I tone it, it will start to go a little bit more ruby first maybe, and then towards bluish the longer that I leave it. Now, I don't want to go that far this time. I want it to be a little bit more warm, but you will notice in the highlights and in some of the mid-tones it'll start to go a little bit cooler, and that's the gold toning it. Now, the reason we're doing this is because, again, the silver is very fine. The grains are very fine and they're very susceptible to the UV light, and they will fade over time. So by doing this, we're basically encasing those fine particles of silver with the gold, with gold chloride. And therefore, it makes it a little bit more permanent and protects it a little bit more against UV light and prevents that fading. So this print now, once it's been toned, even as long as I've had it in right now, will last a lot longer than it would have had I not done this. So we're going to leave this in here for probably 4 or 5 minutes. I'll come back to you once it's at the point where I want it, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've had it in here about 5 minutes now, and I can see the color starting to shift to the point where I'm kind of ready for it to come out of there. So I'm going to move it on over now into the fix. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and rinse it off, and then I'm going to put it in here. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, so now I'm ready to go here. Let's take it out and we'll put it into our fixer. Now, one of the things about the toning process, much like the salt printing process, is it changes throughout the process itself, its iteration. Now you can see it's starting to lighten a little bit more in the fixer, if you can see on that camera. Now that will also, once I have fixed it and I dry it down and I wash it and then dry it down, it's going to dry back down and it's going to be a little bit darker than you see right now. Now the same goes for the toning. The toning will change a little bit. The color will change a little bit. So it's always kind of a moving target. Unless you're doing this a lot, you're going to have a little bit of a moving target to hit. But you know, if you want consistency, maybe you want to try a different process. But you can get fairly consistent with this. Again, more repetitive, and the more that you do this, the more you're going to get to know how much the toner exhausts, how much you have to replenish it with, that kind of thing. So now that we've gone through the toning process and we've fixed the print, we're going to now take it and put it into the wash. And I'm going to wash it for probably 15 or 20 minutes before I dry it out and bring it back out here to show you, all right? So stick with me. Okay, gone through the drying process and flattened it out, and it's really beautiful little print. It went a little farther than I thought in the toning. As I was telling you while we were toning it, is that sometimes you don't really know. It's a bit of a moving target. So, but it still looks really beautiful. It went a little bit to the cool side, I think. A little bit cooler than I would have liked it, but I still really, really am pleased with it. It still has some warmth to it, but it's just a little bit more on the bluer to the purple side, as you can see here. So anyway, it's a beautiful little print. I'm going to package it up and send it off to Mr. Burnett, and I thank him again for letting me use this, and thank him again for coming on up here to Photostock this year. It was really a great time. So yeah, I'm hoping you're having fun with your own process at home, and I hope this helps you moving on with the toning of salted paper printing. There's all kinds of other things you can tone with, and maybe I'll get to some more of those. I think I'm going to do some more videos on the salted paper printing process. It's a lot of fun. It's not real expensive to work with. So I'm going to link to the toning kit in the Bostick and Sullivan site below so that you can get it for yourself and try it out at home. And I hope you're having a lot of fun in your own dark rooms. If you like this one, give me a thumbs up. I hope it helped. Thanks a lot. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.